Hey everyone, this is Devin, D-Will, D-Trill, D-Will I Am, Accuseed, whatever works for you. I am so excited to start doing this podcast. I literally got the idea to do this from my amazing friends who I love and I cherish deeply. And, they're always coming to me for my opinion and my advice and really just my thoughts. And it's always been suggested to me that I take, my perspectives on and share them in a more broader sense. And that's essentially what this is. It's the beginning of my video diary that I want you guys to help me create. So the way that this will work is every week, every day, I will be on my social media networks. And I just want you to send me questions, suggestions, topics, comments, anything that you want to know, that you feel some type of way about, that you want clarity on, or just an opinion on. These are the things that I love, that I live for. And what better way to reach meaningful people with meaningful content than to start a podcast? This is going to be a free-for-all of all the things that people actually want to talk about. And if you want to hear me talk about it, then this is just a win-win situation. So please do me a favor. Go and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DWillIam, DWILL_EYE_AM, so that we can get this dialogue started. It's already gotten started. People are already sending me things. So I'm just glad that I get to bring all of these things to you and to be able to share and brainstorm and collaborate, fellowship, whatever it is that you need. I want you to be able to do it here. And I'm excited that you would even take the time to do it with me. So let's get started. Put it back. Now I'm something like the chemist on can. Okay. So, one of the first questions that I was asked for this podcast was, how many great loves do you get in one lifetime? And I thought that was an awesome question. And so the answer that I gave, or that I came up with immediately, was 3. And this was my rationale behind it. Your first love is something that you never even expected, right? So it's that moment when you kind of figure out that this is even possible. And sometimes that hasn't even happened for people who are well into their adulthood for whatever reasons, may be. But your first love, nothing can compare to. And I think that that's truly because it's the first time that you're even experiencing certain things and you're just excited about the fact that you can. And for me, that came a little later. It came in college. And, it was a whirlwind of a relationship and just so many lessons that were learned within it. But I really cherish that experience because I'm able to reference a whole different side of me that sometimes I feel like I don't have access to anymore. And in my adulthood, I sometimes sit and I think, is it possible for me to even channel that girl and be the way that that girl was in that relationship? Because sometimes I want to be really sweet and really kind and really just outwardly emotional, and I can't do it. I can't do it all the time. And what I realized was the reason that I can't be that girl is because all of the lessons that I learned from that relationship have already been applied. And it's hard to learn from your lessons and not allow a situation to change you. So a part of growing is changing, but it's also challenging yourself not to change for the worse. So your first love is an undeniable, untouchable, experience that I don't think anything can ever come close to again. The way that you love after that is learned love, calculated love, and learning to be vulnerable again. But those were all things that you never had to learn or teach yourself to do before. They were all organic from the start. Crazy. About the first one. The second love, I think, is that most stable love. Because now you've gotten over the puppy love stage. You've gotten over the starry-eyedness. And trust me, some people never get over it, because I know people that are in their adulthood, and I'm like, you've known him 2 months and you're in love. See, that is the one thing about women. We will have you believe that we love everybody, honey. We will have ourselves believe that. Until you look back at it and you're like, no, I don't think so. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. Well, it's easy to do it, retrospectively. But when you're in the moment, it's hard to look at a man that is, fine and successful and focused on you, or so he says, and not think that you're done. But your second love, I think, is the love where you're a little more settled, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to prove to myself, to my relationship, and maybe even to others that I can actually do this. I can actually focus on one person and do well and be successful in a relationship. And I think what happens with your second love is that it is true love, but it comes too early. So it's always kind of that person that would be great for you in like 5 years. It's that person that you see so much potential in and so much friendship in and understanding. And it's that like stretch of your life where you don't actually need to take anybody that seriously. You just happen to be doing it, right? So the second love always falls short, because there's no place to go. Like, a lot of people don't have the stamina and the attention and the attention span and the dedication to stay with somebody during that part of their life, because it's a selfish time. You want to focus on your career. You want to focus on what you're doing and where you want to go, and losing weight, and getting in the door at the club, and going on vacation, and going to Coachella, and things like that. You're not thinking about someone's feelings and having to wear long skirts and not post pictures on Instagram, and you know what I mean? You're not trying to think about that kind of stuff, but it happens. And when you get there, it's kind of frustrating, because that's the last person that you want to hurt. That's truly the last person that you want to hurt. But it's just not the right time. And it can happen, on either side. It's just usually not the right time. And that's the only reason why it doesn't work. And I think the third love is probably the hardest one, because now this gets to a point where we're adults. We're almost adults. And now people start asking you questions like, so when are you going to settle down? And are you next? Do you want kids? You're not getting any younger. To my ladies, that's the one thing people like to say. Like your expiration date is just stamped on your forehead or something. Like, what? But I think that this one is the one where we maybe are the most confused, because now you're looking at people to spend the rest of your life with, per se. So then you start getting this checklist in your mind about the things that you can and can't live with. And usually it's directed from whatever visions or whatever images that we see on TV and in the media. A lot of that drives it. whatever, standing your family comes from or what they don't come from. And all of these things start to now, come into play. Whereas before it was just like, I'm just cool being in a relationship. I'm just cool being with somebody that I like. But now is this person a good mother or father for my potential children? And do they have too much student loan debt? I ain't getting into all that, or, oh, they family is ghetto. I don't want to get into all that. It's a lot. It is a lot to consider. And the pool gets smaller and smaller the older you get. And then you just kind of get to a point where you don't feel like looking anymore. It's just like I don't even have the patience to try to filter through nonsense when I'm going to have to deal with somebody's nonsense on some level. So, now it gets into a point of, am I settling? Am I settling because I thought I was supposed to live this lavish life and this person doesn't have interest or means that align with that? Or, is this person going to be able to be there for me and support me through my dreams? Or does their dreams, do their dreams always have to come first? Like, am I going to be a supporting role where I thought I was going to be the star? So I feel like it's things like that. And I think that third love is a reserved love. And what I hear from people, in my age group or even older than me is, the next relationship I get in is going to be the last relationship. Yeah, that usually doesn't happen either. And so I think what we set ourselves up for is disappointment and failure, because sometimes people are just in your life for a season and they're supposed to be there for a season, but you're trying to make them a reason, a reason to get married, a reason to have kids, a reason to stop looking. And I think that's where the challenge comes in, is figuring out what that third love is reserved for, and knowing when you found it and how to make that the most sacred love, and still try your best to channel that first love, because the fundamentals of that first love are what's going to make this third love last. Another question one of my followers was, do you have to date one man in order to get over another? And I said yes and no. So yes, because it's a distraction. I mean, that's just in this rawest form. It's a distraction. And when you're going through something, or if you're in a rut, you've been trying your hardest to focus and get out of it, and you just can't. Sometimes it's okay to entertain, or just to have fun. It doesn't mean you got to be out here sleeping with nobody or doing anything that you don't need to be doing. It just means that you're enjoying the time that you're spending with someone that's distracting you from something emotional that you're trying to push forward through. But I also say no, because you don't want to become dependent on that cycle in order to sustain yourself. So as women, especially, we're very emotional. We love hard, we hate hard, everything is hard. And it's not even, and I think men think that it's like something that we choose. Like, you just want to find reasons to fight and you just want to find. No, I genuinely feel this way. Like, I genuinely think that you're crazy and that you got me confused. That's genuine. That's nobody else. So, the thing with this is, with women especially, you want to make sure that you're strong in yourself. So when my friends are going through things, when I'm going through things myself, I always try to tell, them, in addition to myself, to focus on what makes you happy in yourself. If that means that you like running marathons You like baking cupcakes. You like going to the movies with your mom, playing kickball with your cousins, whatever it means. Immerse yourself in the things that make you happy on your own. And it's exhausting because all you want to do is lay in the bed or, go to work or go to school and go home. But I know for a fact that when you take the time to refocus on yourself and the things that give you joy outside of anybody else, that it really does start to compensate for that void. And that will also help you not to become reliant on or needy, and thinking that you have to be with somebody in order to be complete. And sometimes that cycle of, oh, I'll just get another one to get over this one. Oh, to the left, I got another one. Sometimes that becomes a detrimental pattern and one that you can't get out of. And you will find yourself borderline depressed because maybe you don't have anybody to move on to this time. So now what? And the last thing that your friends want to do is keep patting your back for months on months on months while you talk about this man that has been gone since, January and it's September. They're not trying to do that. They're not. I'm not trying to do that. And my friends know that. Don't come to me with no nonsense. Because this is what you want to do. Like, I get it, but you have to try to help yourself too. So I would be weary of doing too much, moving on too fast, and I don't care, and it's a lie. It's a lie. Just focus on the reality of it. The reality of it is what your role was in that relationship and what his role was in that relationship, and what worked and what didn't, why, and trying to find peace in that. And also there is, I'm sorry, no such thing as closure. It's just an understanding and an acceptance of what is. That's not closure. There's no such, it's impossible. And when the ink dries and the pages turn, why do we feel the need to live beyond our means? Yeah, we do. I don't know why. I won't profess to know why. But what I do know is that we like shiny things, most of us. And that it's almost I think social media has made it this much harder as well, because social media allows people to be boastful without saying anything, right? So I can put up this new car, I can put up these new shoes, this new bag, these new whatever, and you'll see it, but I never said anything about it. Or I could just be, I just could not care and hashtag every single designer I have on and every single thing that I've bought in the last month and put it all on the bed and with $3,000 worth of 20s and just take a picture and call it living, right? Hashtag started. Like, we're embarrassing ourselves. And it's sad. But we buy into it, and I'm guilty too. I'm guilty to an extent of buying into it, and I don't know why. I know for me, personally, I went to a very wealthy school my entire life. This is a school that everyone, for the most part, came from very well-off families, and I did not. My parents sacrificed a lot to send me there, and every day was a sacrifice, way beyond most people would even know, and even people who are close to me would know, because it's just something that you have to, something that I had to, you had to go through in order to make strides, in order to get where I needed to be. But I think for me, the reason that I like nice things and I want nice things is because I grew up not being able to have the things that other people around me had. And I think that a part of me wants to finally have a legitimate spot at the table, right? Not just to be there by association, not just to be there through friendships or, through education or opportunity and those type of things. I think those are the things that really drive me, is that, I really want to be legitimate in that standing. But it really doesn't have everything to do with shoes and cars and bags and things of that nature, because they don't define me. But at the same time, there's something to be said about different levels of success. And I know for me, always kind of being on the outside of that, though I was inside of it, I was there. I was having a good time. I was making friends. I was blending. But although I was there, I was not of that. And I think sometimes we feel that if we can portray these things outwardly, that we will be accepted into these different, standings and social circles and what may have you, and that will be liked and that will be cool, And the one thing that social media has allowed us is our own definition of reality, right? Perception is reality. And we've afforded that for ourselves. So I don't know why we really do it. I know why. I know where some of it stems from for myself. But, I would say to people who are just, doing things that are not going to benefit them and spending money in ways that's going to hurt rather than help, to reevaluate their priorities. You know what? I'll probably end every show with a quote or something meaningful for you to take away. But at the end of all this, I just want you to remember that I don't know the world. These are just my opinions.
I think I started something. I got what I wanted. Didn't I? Can't feel nothing. Superhuman, even when I'm fucking Viagra, popping every single record. Auto tuning, zero emotion, muted emotion, pitch corrected.